My name is Kari Buffalo, and I am a designer with Clothier Design Source. I have been designing various products for over 20 years. I went to school for design at the University of Minnesota. I started and I finished at FIT in New York. So that's kind of history from me. I went from school in New York to working in the industry in New York, and then missed my family and Minnesota's beautiful landscape. So I came back and I've been here ever since. So kind of just a brief history of what I have had my hands in designing. It's a really broad range of things from women's ready to wear, just day looks, to evening gowns, to knitwear and sweaters, to menswear, jackets, socks, and trousers. And then most recently, things with Clothier Design Source, which have ranged the gamut from athletic wear to infant and baby, medical, just all types of different products. So super wide variety of product development and design background.
So when someone comes to you, especially for a clothier, because you help them develop so much product, what are some of the first questions that people usually ask?
I think most of the time, when they come to us, they want to know if it's a viable idea, like, can it actually be made? Because some of the things that we do focus kind of heavily on what we call garment engineering. So it's not necessarily a garment to just be pretty or to show a trend. It's something that has to be functional and has to fit a certain niche in the market. And so they want to know, like, hey, I have this idea for something that will do X, Y, and Z. Can we merge those two things? Can we make the functionality that I want and also have it be a good looking, nice item? So that's kind of where we start, is like, okay, can we actually achieve the goal, the function goal, and then merge that with something that would be saleable and people would look at and want to buy?
Great.
Mm-hmm.
When they start off, do they need like a sketch, or what kind of helps
No.
get going?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of people do get kind of nervous and say, like, I'm not an artist, I can't sketch you what I want, and that's totally fine. We don't expect that of anybody. It's great if you can even just give me any kind of scribbling, that helps. Pictures speak 1,000 words, so sometimes even if you can't draw, you can write a couple lines on a piece of paper that will help me. But a lot of times people come to us with no sketch, but they'll have something from their closet or something that they purchased that's similar, and then they'll add in, I like this type of garment, but if it could do, wrap like this, and if it could have a pocket here, and they kind of through words explain to me what they're looking for. And then we're the ones who actually take all of that inspiration, whether it be photos or garments or just some mock-up they've made. We put that together in our own presentation of drawings for them. So then our artists make it come into life as a drawing. That's kind of our first step.
Cool. So then where do you go from there?
So after we have taken the inspiration and made a drawing, usually what we do is we present a number of options for people, because we want to show various ways that something could be constructed. And so if they're looking, like, I always like to use a simple example of like a t-shirt, let's say, with a pocket for a special heating or cooling device, potentially. There's many ways that pocket can be constructed. There's many placements for it that could be appropriate. There's a ton of seam lines. So we show them different ideas for that. And then they'll give us feedback, and we'll mix and match some of what they say. Like, potentially on option 1, they might like the neckline, but on option 3, they might like the pocket construction. And we'll kind of, I like to say, Frankenstein the ideas together. So then we come to pulling all different things they like, putting it into one drawing, and then that becomes the final blueprint or roadmap for what we're going to take to patterning and to figuring out what fabrics are appropriate.
Great. It's super tempting for me to go down the whole product development process with you right now, but I'm going to stay focused on the design element, because I was about to be like, okay, and then what next? So like, let's keep in that design world. Like, what else is happening in that time? Are you starting to look at fabrics? Are you?
Yeah, very much so. We very much try as much as possible to look at fabrics in combination with the time that we're spending doing drawings of the garment, because they kind of go hand in hand. We might find a fabric that has a certain property that's really important to what we want to be doing, and we have to take into account potentially like how much it stretches or doesn't stretch, or how heavy or light it is, and that will make us draw or design something differently based on what the properties of the fabrics we like are.
Yeah, for sure. So then, like, what else do you need to consider when you're designing, like closures or?
Always closures. So yeah, closures and seam lines are the first two things that come to mind. So we always want to figure out how someone's going to get in and out of something. So whether that be pulling it over their head, or maybe they have some sort of, in our world, very oftentimes they'll have a restriction of movement, so someone can't pull it over their head. And so we have to think about, okay, how could someone get this on without doing that, or with a limited range of motion? So then we're looking at, do we need zippers? Can we use Velcro? Can we use magnets? What happens there? Sometimes since we work a lot with medical things, there are some restrictions where they'll tell us, okay, we can't use magnets, we can't use metal, or vice versa, we can't use a Velcro because it will snag something else that it's joining, and will kind of damage the other components that it's going to be used with. So definitely that's something that we're considering. And then I think also like seam lines, we find depending on the activity or the end use, the way we decide to attach a sleeve or attach a cuff or something like that will be different. So we're definitely thinking about what the end user is like, if they have a need for a big range of motion, or if they have a limited range of motion, and where the seams would be placed. Something that comes to mind is like a lot of athletic garments. We're thinking about what are they doing? Are they running? Are they skiing? Are they jumping? And then where could we place those seam lines to do certain things? So, we want to maybe think about, will they be abrasive? If we're doing a really highly vigorous activity and they're very concerned about not having abrasion, we want to move those seam lines in different places than just a typical shirt might be, or legging or something like that. And then vice versa, if something is going to be used in like a lot of jumping and they're trying to like minimize like bounce of a bust or something like that, how do we place the seams, and how do we arrange the fabric to help minimize some of those things?
Cool. So I'm gonna stay on the seam line topic. Let's pretend someone is brand new and doesn't even know what a seam line is. How would you describe it?
Yeah. So a seam line is basically where you're joining different parts of the garment together. So think about a t-shirt will need to have the sleeves joined to the body, and where they join, that's where the seam line is. If you have a pant, you have to join the left leg to the right leg. So that usually means there's a line going from the navel all the way through the crotch to the back of the body. That's a seam line.
Yeah. And seam lines can be both functional, like you're talking about with the athletic performance side of it, and they can also be like decorative and really impact the fit. My mind goes to like a tailored blazer. Can you talk to me about the seam lines that might go into that?
Going to be really important in terms of the fit. So we build a lot of shaping into a seam line. So, in a blazer, for example, you really want that to be sculpted and shaped in a certain way for the body. So that's partly what we're using those seams for. And then also, this, it can tell a trend too. Placement of seam lines in the 80s were different than placement of seam lines are today. And you can definitely look at a garment and just tell kind of the decade based on where we've placed the seams and decided those proportions should be.
Yeah. Cool. So when people are like thinking about their design, a few elements that they should start off learning about and thinking about would be fabric, the seam lines, how they want it to fit,
Mm-hmm.
and then the functionality of it, what's unique about it, and how does it actually move with the body. Would you add anything to that?
Yeah, no, I think those are really the most important 3 points. And what I would say is we don't expect you to be the experts in those things. So for example, fabric, I don't expect people to come to me and say, I want these types of fabrics and these percentages of components. And I don't care about that. I don't even need to know that. What I need to know is you could bring me something that you have in your closet or that you've purchased. Say, I like how this is, and here's why I like it. I like it because it's soft. I like it because it's lightweight. I like how it fits. Like, you could just give me those kind of things. That's all I need to know. And the same thing would go for like seam lines and fits. Just giving examples of things you've seen and explanation of why you like them, why they appeal to you, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that you want to add?
The thing that we always try to kind of we don't struggle with, but you can design something for a specific function or type of garment in 8,000 ways. I mean, there's like limitless ways to design something that will work and be appropriate for what you want. So I think sometimes the deciding factors for people definitely become a little bit more of like the aesthetic or the branding or what the fabric possibilities are, just because I like to, just because we're doing something that is a t-shirt. I mean, there's a gajillion ways to make a t-shirt. So I like to always tell people, like, there's so many options, and sometimes we just have to narrow it down to figure out like what's really important. And what are your top 3 things in that t-shirt? Does the t-shirt need to do a certain function, or is it really about the fabric, or those kind of things?
Yeah, and what I hear in that you're saying is to simplify it a little bit and get specific on what your, like you said, 1 to 3 things that you want to accomplish with your product, and kind of build it from there. And then maybe your collection expands and it offers different things, but you're not asking one t-shirt to do maybe 3 things.
Yeah, I think that's kind of an overwhelming part of people when they're starting out to develop a product, is their mind is going and going, and they have a lot of ideas, which are great ideas, but kind of narrowing that focus to those top things will make the product more successful in the beginning. And you can always do the version 2.0 and the 3.0 and kind of building on that main thing. It doesn't have to be the only thing there is. It's just the first thing.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Kari. And they can find you at Clothier Design Source, and we'll have more of these, I'm sure. So
yeah.
thanks so much.
Thanks, Emma. Bye-bye.
Bye.